connect the Nordic region's innovation ecosystem to Silicon Valley's ecosystem. And we basically cover 6 countries in the Nordics: Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and Estonia. So many of them. And you know, that's where all the really super cool, great innovations come from, right? You've all used Skype, Spotify, Rap, you know, Ericsson, Volvo, ABBA. We have so many really, really, really cool brands. So probably none of you know that every time you get into your car, put on your seatbelt, that's a Swedish innovation. Right? So now, no one's going to forget that because, so we have a lot of really cool innovations and brands coming out of the Nordics. And tonight we actually also have very cool Nordic people that will talk about brands. And so I will not introduce you guys quite yet because I do have some brands to thank first. Our dear sponsors, our main sponsors, Bank of the West with Julien. Are you here?
I am.
There you are. All right. It's a French, you know, bank, but still very Nordic. They even have the ship on their banner. They used to have the Eiffel Tower. We're like, you can't really have the Eiffel Tower on the Viking ship. So. But anyway, so this is actually the best bank and our main sponsor. We're really happy to have you guys. The only European bank, you can say, that can help all of the European and foreigners that come here with all their transactions. And what say you? Talk to Julien more about that. We also have our dear creative partner, that's the main sponsor, which is Sköna, advertising agency that you will actually hear more about later because they're part of the panel. We also have Scandinavian Airlines. If you want to go to the Nordics, that's the only way to go. So it's SAS from San Francisco to Copenhagen. I'm really good at promoting all the sponsors. Have I forgotten someone? Oh, yeah, we actually also recently got Babson College as main sponsor.
Entrepreneurship school?
Right, so they're actually the #1 entrepreneurship school in the US, ranked for many, many years now. And also have really good MBA programs that they're doing with their new school that they opened here in San Francisco. And we don't have a representative from there right now. We also have our dear host and sponsor that we love really, really so much because we always have so great events here with you guys, and you also help us with our legal matters. K&L Gates with Lars. Do you want to say some words about K&L?
Sure, thank you, Adiba. And warm welcome to our office. It's very nice to host this event, and it's always a nice occasion to do an event with Silicon Vikings. So we have a great panel, so it will be very short. We're a law firm of about 2,200 to 2,300 attorneys globally. We have a global platform. We have many different specialties, but in particular, we help clients with protection of their IP, and trademarks is a strong specialty, patents and so forth. If you look at the name K&L Gates, Gates is after Bill Gates' father. So with that, on that note, yeah, I'll give that back to you.
A lot of great value in that. Yeah. Thank you, Lars. So without further ado, I think we should get this party started. And I want to introduce a very special guy, Thomas Gad. Thomas has been, we actually had worked together, I think it was like 12 years ago or something, when we were kids, right? So we worked with a place brand called Kista Science City, which is basically like Silicon Valley in Europe. So that was all about place branding and how you brand a location, a nation, a region, and so on. And then Thomas has had like such a long history of great brands that he's worked with. So I will actually let you introduce yourself shortly with what you've done. And also you should mention what the advice you gave to Richard Branson when you gave him some advice on Virgin. And so on. And after Thomas, we will go to, and at about 6:40, we will have Jenny, which she came here many, many years ago, and she will tell her story as well about the journey that she had as a Swedish girl from the beginning, and the ad agency that she actually made a great success here in the US in San Francisco. And then we'll also listen to, we can't do anything without turning to the legal people, right? To the attorneys and the great advice that they give. So Britt will give us an insight on what you should think about to actually protect your brand and how you do that. And then we will do an exercise, so all of you will actually do some work. And don't run out now. You can't actually, it's so crowded in here, so it's really hard. So we'll do some exercise and you will actually be able to chat and give your questions. So if you want to send in some questions before it's time for them, just use the hashtag SVBrand that you see in the corner here. And we will pick up those questions. If you don't want to stand up and say them yourselves, you can just send them into the hashtag. You can also tweet about the event using the hashtag. @Silicon Vikings is our Twitter handle, and you can see all the speakers' Twitter handles as well. So, all right, let's get started. Thomas, stage is yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have forced me to speak in 20 minutes of something which I usually take at least 2 hours to do.
You can do it.
Yeah, I hope I can squeeze it in, but it will be a little bit fast tempo. But I think you managed. Now let's. I like to start with a little introduction about what branding and where branding is going, and it has changed a lot in the last few years. In the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, branding has changed totally. And we are now seeing a different type of brand than we did 15 years ago. And it's entirely different in many ways. So it's just maybe the concept of a brand is still there, but a lot of things have changed. And it's the way you relate to the brand and how you use the brand, and that's going to be my topic. Now I like to kick off with a little film clip which kind of indicates what this new type of brand is all about. Let's roll it. Well, actually, I do a little introduction to that. It's a Liverpool Street Station in London. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's a sort of a suburban train station, and it's January 2009, so it's a few years ago, and it's like midday, 11 o'clock or something, and this is what happened. So this is the big difference today from earlier. The old type of brand, which I call transaction brand, I will come back to that later. That was a very passive thing. You were sitting there, you were watching, and you were basically the messages, the advertising was pushed into your face, and you had there was no respect. Was a lot of arrogance, actually, not a great interest in individuals at all, and it was not involving. So the big difference is that the new type of brand is actually involving and wants to take you include you in the process. It wants you to participate and be part of the brand itself and to help to build the brand. And of course that's a hugely different thing than what it used to be. Now, a little presentation about myself. I'm a practitioner. I have gained a lot of experience over time. I've tried to structure this in a few books that I've written over the years. I'm just writing a new book now and doing an update which will be online on this 4D branding, which is my first book. Actually, we will have two books here, the 4D branding and my book on personal branding, Managing Brand Me. We will have that as in some kind of a
raffle,
on a raffle, which you will organize somehow. So you may get home with one of my books, some of you. So that's nice. So, and I put this together because I wanted to educate my clients, and I also wanted to educate myself a little bit, trying to understand what I was doing, because you're working with this as a practitioner, you don't always reflect, what is going on and why am I doing in certain ways. And I also created a methodology which I'm going to present for you today. I have a lot of different brand experience, and you already mentioned some of it, Adiba, and these are just a few of the brands I've been working with. All kinds of brands, in big corporations, big product brands, more on the product side, and lately I've worked a lot with startups of various kinds. Now, what is a brand? And actually, that's a very interesting question. A lot of people, when you say a brand, they think immediately on a trademark. The logo type and the name. And actually, that is not the brand. That's the trademark. So what is the brand then? Well, branding 1.0, how it all started, was creating a promise and expectations. That was what the brand actually did. After a while, people realized that, hey, we can't just create expectations, we also have to live up to the expectations, which suddenly was an enlightenment. And this fulfillment idea led to the first real interest in the consumers. So consumer research began to develop, and people were interested to hear and understand what goes on in the consumers' minds. So that was a big change. From a very much company-centered branding 1.0 to a slightly more interested in the consumer 2.0. Now 3.0 is an even more amazing thing happened, and that is that the brand have a community, and this community actually takes over the brand to a large degree. There are a lot of examples. Gap is one example. There are a few others where the brands actually has been taken over by the users. So the owner of the brand has lost the control over the brand. Of course, this can be a very good thing to a certain degree. Sometimes when you lose the control totally, obviously that is something which brand owners have not been used to. Now, brand 4.0, sort of which has to do with this community thing, then in this stage, the brand is not only about the product, the promise and expectations of the product or service. It's actually also trying to create a meaning, something bigger, something larger, something which has a more depth. And that is becoming more important when the brand starts to communicate and build these communities. It's very, very important then for the brand also to have some more depth, something more to offer. And we will come back to that, and we will also practice that a little bit in the workshop we do later. Now, so basically this is what the brand is all about. Now, why branding? This is very interesting always to ask yourself, why are you doing something? And the answer here is actually that branding is management. It's a management technique, and it's a management system where you actually manage one of the most important, most valuable things for a company, and that's the perception of this company or institution or country or whatever in people's minds. So it is a management system, like you have a management system for financial management or for HR or for other things. You have also a management system for the brand. And that's the approach. And the question is always interesting, what happens if you don't do any branding? Well, interestingly enough, what happens is that this vacuum of doing nothing will be filled by people's own fantasies. So if you don't do any branding yourself, people will fill up this empty space, so to speak, with their own ideas. And they will start to fantasize immediately and make up an idea about what this logo type or name could be about. And obviously, this is not always to your satisfaction as brand owner, and you don't have the control here. And that's why this management, this branding is so important, because you can do a lot in order to lead people to the right kind of image. Now there are three top drivers which have changed branding a lot in the last few years. And the first one is internet, of course, and it's not only the exponential growth of internet, lots of information, where you basically are drowning in an overload of information. So it's a much harder and tougher job to be a marketeer today, because you have to fight with so much information, and information is accessible for everyone.